Made it pretty far, all things considered. Thanks for your applause. Still, every time I close the door and another one open, I get this panic that my life is now on pause. The dark gets cleared, the board's been cleaned. There's nothing left on my screen. The plate is empty, so it seems. Now is the time to ask, okay, what's next? This was fun while it lasted, nothing comes to you asking. So I'd really like to know what's next. Around the corner, down the street, whatever's meant for me to meet. I'm waiting for it anxiously, so tell me please, what's next? Potential till my eyes finally close. But I got time, got years and years, work to do, but I got fears, and there's a ringing in my ears. So still I gotta ask, okay, what's next? This was fun while it lasted, nothing comes to you asking. So I'd really like to know what's next. Around the corner, down the street, whatever's meant for me to meet. I'm waiting for it anxiously, so tell me please, what's next? What's next? What's
All right. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be in this beautiful planet of ours. Oh, let's shut Siri down. Siri wanted to participate. Welcome to Metaphysical Mocha Mondays, the Halloween edition. I'm your host, Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, playing around with just some Zoom features. Got my little cup of coffee for Metaphysical Mocha Mondays. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, because we have a global audience, people that tune in every Monday morning to really kind of get that inspirational uplift, to get that encouragement, that motivation, maybe think outside the box, maybe give you some, maybe it's some spiritual insight, maybe it's some metaphysical insight, maybe it's a meditation, maybe it's a little bit of sound healing or vibrations and frequency. So today we're going to have a fun show because I want to share with you a few things, a few concepts that I've learned along the way. And again, I set up the studio, got the red light on to celebrate Halloween. So happy Halloween to everybody that's joining us today. We are going to have some special guests in the after show, the Halloween special. We're going to have Rosie and Reg, two of my friends, two of my colleagues, two people that I've worked with over the years to help mentor them and help them understand and see more of the spiritual pathway. And so they're going to be coming on. They're both certified healing mediums now. So they're going to be coming on, and we're going to be doing some healing meditations, going to be doing open up some breakout rooms. So if you need some healing, we're going to focus on Halloween today. Not so much of the scary ghost, you've got ghosts, we've got pumpkins, we've got black cat. I don't know if you can see the black cat. He's right here. I even hung up a spider, which is saying a lot right there. There's a big old spider, because I don't like spiders. For those of you who know me, know that I fear spiders. I can take snakes and rats and things that crawl in the night, but for some reason I just can't do spiders. So I figured I'd just set up the studio just to have a little bit of fun today, because there's a lot going on in our world. Life is short. And you just wake up every morning and you're like, oh my gosh, what's next? And that's the song that I was playing, like, what's next? What's coming our way? What does the Roaring 20s offer? And this morning, as we grab our coffee and we grab our tea, I wanted to talk about, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. It's very much around us. There's a lot that's going on. I'm going to see if I can find one of the things that I wanted to share with you this morning, since we can do death share. But in about a half hour here, we're going to be bringing on Reg and Rosie, and they're going to be doing some readings live here in the Metaphysical Mocha space here on Facebook. If you haven't subscribed to the space yet, the page, we just a few things. We have a subscription hub now for the Intuitive Prospector page. Help us to get to that 40,000 follower mark by the end of the year. That's kind of my goal for this year. You can also follow me over on Patreon now. So I've got a few patrons that have joined the journey. So you can just go to marclainhart.com. Just go, let's see, everything's opposite. Just go right here to marclainhart.com. And you can click on the links to my ranked podcast show now called Inspired Living, where we've been ranked by FeedSpot as one of the top 100 inspirational podcasts to listen to and follow in 2022 and 2023. You can also get to the link to Patreon to become a Patreon membership monthly prospector. And I work with my VIPs, I work with my Patreon prospectors, my star senders, and my top fans with all the work I do here on my social media pages. You can also follow me now over on TikTok. I'm doing a lot more on TikTok, not so much on Twitter anymore. Twitter, I'm just kind of keeping an eye on based on how that goes. I guess I can take the I'm away off. How do I take that off? Let's see. I'm back. Okay, there we go. And you can also follow me on the different social media sites. So it's all at marclainhart.com. If you want to link up with me, I've got about a month left of work before I take my spiritual maintenance and close down for December. So if you want to book a reading, this would be the time. I am hiring for a PR coordinator. I've interviewed a few people already. So if you're interested in being a part of the team for Inspired Living for 2023, being a public relations coordinator, really, because we just get so many requests to be on the show, and I need help doing that. And if you're interested in joining my spiritual development group, we meet weekly online Wednesdays at 5:15 Pacific Standard Time. We've got an amazing tribe. It's not a big group. I keep it kind of small, and you won't find it privately, so you'll need to send an email at marclainhart.com. Click on the picture that says spiritual development group if you want to get a visitor's pass to see what that's about, because it's not a public group. It's not open to the public. And some people have been with me for 5 to 7 years, learning the pathways of spiritualism, mediumship, metaphysics, meditations, awareness, intuition, all of the things that we have as humans. So with that, grab your coffee, grab your tea. Let's do a little bit of a prospecting and an exploration for your own spiritual gold and to find that diamond within. So, of course, got to have my Star Wars mug, got to have my Bigfoot and alien shirt on, and, of course, celebrate Halloween. So let's see if I can find what I'm looking for here, because a lot of times I don't always find what I'm looking for. So if you have a question, hold on to that question until the after show, and then we'll get to you in the after show. Let's see here. I should have put it on my desktop, and I didn't. So now I've got to try to find it in science here. I've got a science folder, and of course. All right, so let's do this one. We'll open up this one first. So I'm going to do my for today's topic. We're talking about just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not around you. So I want you, as I share this picture with you, I want you to think about the microscope. I want you to think about the telescope. I want you to think about the iPhone. So think about what is not seen: vibration, frequency, energy. Nikola Tesla talked about this in 1865. He talked about there would be a little black box that would connect people to around the world. And at the time in 1865, think about the mindset, think about the group think. People were like, that's evil. That's you're a warlock, you're a witch. People, persecuted him for that belief. And here we are, 100 plus years later, and a little black box with connecting to people all around the world. So he was seeing something, and he worked with energy, frequency, and vibration. And he always said, if you want to, have the universe speak to you, think in those terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, and you'll start to unlock the universe and the universe's mysteries and secrets. I always say, when you become aware of the mystic becomes aware of you. And not anything from a nefarious standpoint, not from an evil standpoint. I don't subscribe to that. I don't buy into that. But what I want to do is I want to share this picture with you. So let me go to screen share. All right, let's talk about this real quick. So let me maximize that. So this is from Healing Facts. This is somebody that I follow, so I want to pay them credit. But the human eye can only see between 430 to 770 THz. Our ears can only detect sound between 20 hertz and 20 kilohertz. And these ranges make up a fraction of the total sound and light frequency range. This means that there's so much going on around us that we can neither see nor we can hear. And so when you start to think broadly, more objectively, that there is a lot of different frequencies going on. We could get into string theory. We could get into multidimensional theory. For those of you that follow my work, I'm going to need some more conspiracy theories, because back in 2019, when I talked about the Roaring 20s, at the time they would be considered conspiracy theories, but I'm running out of conspiracy theories because they're all coming true. I talked about in our Roaring 20s the civil unrest, the cultural divide, the shifting of society, especially here in America when it comes to politics. I talked about culture wars, civil war here in the United States. People are like, oh, that would never come to America. And we're seeing that unfold as we approach our elections. I don't favor one party over the other. I'm a constitutionalist and an independent, but from what I've been seeing as far as the rhetoric and the violence and how it's been just ramping up and increasing, one party going after it, going after the other and doing some pretty nefarious, evil things. And that's rising. That temperature is rising. And when we get to, I always say, once you have culture wars and political wars, history teaches us that leads us to some sort of civil conflict. It could be a cold civil war, or it could be an active civil war, like what we've already experienced in the United States back from 1863 to 1865 in the battle to get rid of slavery and to really ratify the Constitution. We've seen this before with World War II and the rise of fascism to defeat fascism. So history has a rhyme and a rhythm. It doesn't repeat itself in the same way, but it does have a similarity to it. It does have this rhyme, this rhythm, if you will. And I talked about this in my podcast. You can go back to 2018. You can follow Inspired Living on whatever your favorite podcasting platform is, to iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, whatever. You can go back and listen to what I talked about. The other things I talked about was the discovery of little green men, and that is coming out more and more and more. NASA just commissioned an expert panel of 16 experts to actually start identifying and understanding what this ufology is, UAPs, which is unidentified aerial phenomenon, UFOs. Now, why do I believe that? Because I've had two personal experiences that I couldn't explain. So I became fascinated with ufology years and years ago when I was a little boy, when I had my first experience, and then later in the Coast Guard when I was off the coast of Puerto Rico, because I've seen it with my own eyes. I've experienced stuff that I can't explain, and that really kind of opened me up to the spiritual pathways, the metaphysical pathways, that, again, starting to realize that just because we don't see it doesn't mean it's not around us. And that's today's message, is you can feel and become aware of things in your auric field. You can become aware of your loved ones, your fur babies that are no longer here. They can, they can still connect with you, what we call clairvoyance, which is through the mind, the third eye. And for those of you that follow my work, you know that I always say we have 3 eyes in life to see: 2 to look, 1 to see. Now we call this the third eye, and the third eye is right between the brow, and it goes back to a gland called the pineal gland. And I've done a lot of studies on this, a lot of classes on this, a lot of, I'm working on my 3-year program of accreditation in spiritualism. I am a certified spiritualist. I'm a member of the SNU, and I'm also, trying to understand using science and pragmatic, objective thought processing to understand, because again, what we don't understand leads us to fear. And when I started to become into the spiritual pathways, it really happened through traumas and tragedies. And I've talked about this in past podcasts, that would also lead into a lot of people having this awakening. Now in 2019, this was right before the pandemic hit, this global pandemic that killed millions and millions of people, over 1 million people in the United States, and over 7.5 million around the world. So it's not fake, but some people would have you believe, based on social media, whatever news show or whatever social media site you follow, it's created an alternative reality, which is part of this conflict that we're experiencing, this divide. And when in 2019, I talked about, that we're going to have proof, not empirical proof, unless they actually come here, or we can go there, which we can't under current technology and physics, or the understanding of our physics. But as far as what I've talked about, a lot of this stuff is starting to unfold. I always say, wait, watch, witness, with the work that I do. And that includes full disclosure to realize that we're not alone. Like I said, NASA has commissioned 16 experts to start talking about this. I follow a lot of Freedom of Information Act, and I follow a lot of C-SPAN. I watch not the normal channels. The Intelligence Committee that is now quote unquote confirmed that UFOs are no longer considered man-made. So when you have a UFO that's not considered man-made, done a podcast on that as well, that means that it can't be from China, it can't be from Russia, it's not our enemies with new tech, it means that it's not man-made. And they've also, quote unquote, have said in not only the reporting, but the press releases, that this is of non-human origin. Non-human origin. So these things are starting to unfold. We still have some great events from a natural standpoint, from tsunamis and volcanoes that are going to still go off. I always keep a close eye on Yellowstone. That's a super volcano that could really impact the world. And the words that I used when I started doing 2019, because 2019 was the age of Aquarius, and as we moved into our roaring 20s, there was a lot of things that I was seeing that was going to open and transform, but through transformation is also chaos. Great global transformation is usually preceded by great global chaos. And we see that now with the war that could possibly lead us to World War III with Russia and Ukraine. That is escalating, not de-escalating. Our science is going to continue. Our communications, our technology is going to continue to evolve. Our space exploration is going to continue to evolve. Learning more about our planet and what our planet is doing, the changes that our planet is going through, that's going to continue to unfold during our roaring 20s. But, not to be of doom and gloom, because I was also seeing all of this energy, all of this vibration and frequency that's happening is because it's helping us to get to what I see down the path is called the great coming together. Now, again, you're going to have to wait, witness, and watch and witness when it all unfolds. I don't know what's going to be the catalyst that brings us together from a global standpoint, but the great coming together is what I talked about. And I use words like sustainability, self-mastery of self, homeostasis, which is a medical term to neither fight nor flight, to get people more on a path of, and you see it in social media, see it in society. People are very angry, people are very depressed and anxious, and there's a lot, it's getting to that path of homeostasis. And again, the great coming together. So I see that for our future, but it's going to be a rough go for the next few months, years, to get to transformation. And transformation is like the butterfly does not become the butterfly without a severe struggle in the cocoon phase from its caterpillar. So I was hoping to share this with you before we get ready. We're going to run a little bit over, so I know Reg and Rosie are hanging on to come on and do some live reading. So again, get your questions ready. I wanted to see if I could just find this picture to share with you. And the other thing that I was talking about, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not around you. For hundreds of years, people were debated and even killed for their philosophy and beliefs that there was a world outside the vision of our eyes. And like I said, we call this the third eye, which connects to the pineal gland. And that pineal gland is a gland that's in the center of the brain. It's right, if you go right behind the right ear and go into the center of the brain, it's this little gland, but it also uses a lot of blood flow from the heart. It's one of the top 3 users of the blood flow from the heart. So that's always been interesting to me. But it also has the same makeup. We call it the third eye because it has the makeup just like our regular eyes. It has fluid, it has the same kind of tissue in a round kind of walnut formation, and it sits in the brain. And so that's always been kind of fascinating to me because I'm like, why do we call it the third eye? I'm always asking these why questions. So let me see if I can find, I was hoping to find this and I meant to pull it on my desktop and I completely forgot to do that. So give me 1 second here. Because I want to share this this with you if I can get to it. Frequencies, it's under frequencies. There we go. I found it. Okay. So let me pull this up. Let me do a screen share so you can kind of get perspective, because I think it's always important. You don't have to buy what I'm saying. I'm not selling anything, but I like to share with people so they can get a perspective, because the ability of spiritualism is your ability to shift your perspective. Doesn't mean that you're always right, and sometimes you have to unlearn some of the things that you've been taught to learn, your belief system, your cognitive dissonance, your conscious bias. There's a lot that goes into it. So I apologize that this is a little blurry because I've blown it up, but you can see the spectrum here. This is 10 to the 18th power. That means that's a big number, and this is the frequency based on the electromagnetic spectrum. And then you drop down here. So this is what we see. The electromagnetic spectrum is what we see. And then you drop down here, and this is the sound of frequency in hertz. So behind me, you can see the singing bowls carry frequencies. Now these carry the 528, which is a healing frequency, but you can see this goes from 10 to the 6th power, which is a lot. And what happens is in this little band, these little dots right here, this rainbow color that we see, these are the colors, these are the 7 colors of the rainbow that the eye will see. But I can tell you that, in my readings and connections I've done, there's many more colors than what we see. There's a whole spiritual world of colors that are waiting for us once we leave this physical body and decarnate, if you will. But this is literally the range of the human vision. So again, I apologize, it's a little blurry, but you get the perspective that, out of the grand scheme of things, we're pretty blind and we're pretty deaf when it comes to what we see and what we don't see. So I wanted to share that with you to give you perspective, because just because we don't see it doesn't mean it's not here. 3 eyes to look, 2 to look, 1 to see. I always think about the microscope. I always think about the telescope. I always think about modern technology that's allowed us to connect in ways we never thought possible as we evolve and transcend and transform into the future. And I do personally believe that there will be technology in the next 50 years that connects people to their loved ones or gives them a better connection. There's already technology that they're playing around with. I've used a spirit box. I've used my digital voice recorder. I don't have it here, to do electronic voice phenomenon, EFPs. So again, there's a lot of equipment that's allowing us to see the world. I think in the James Webb Telescope that recently was launched 1 million miles out in its own orbit, that's given us a view of the universe that we never even thought was, 1, possible, and 2, what we really don't know about our universe and what we're seeing with our own eyes now, and the technology and the computing that's allowing us to see and to become aware. And Eckhart totally talked about this. He talked about the greatest agent for change is awareness, and that's what the Roaring 20s is going to represent, y'all. It's going to, be awareness to the things that we have not seen before, the things that have been around us. We just haven't always, maybe had the mindset to open our minds up. And again, nothing evil or nefarious. I don't subscribe to that. But to become aware of things that we don't see, like us, you're pretty much a human telescope, a human microscope. As you work with your abilities, meditations, I use Qigong, which is the energy, the auric field, which surrounds us. You can use a lot of stuff through your peripheral vision. Practice your psychic abilities. When I mean psychic abilities, psychic means of the soul. So if you're thinking psychic, I'm not talking about winning lottery numbers and when you're going to die and the end of the world. Psychic is of the soul. So it's about knowing thyself. That's a big part of the spiritual journey. And, the tree of life behind me is as above, so below. And that's really the spiritual path. And once you become aware of that, like I did through great trauma and tragedy and 2 near-death experiences. So I had a near-death experience when I was little and fell out of the tree and went into a coma for a couple of days. And then at 27, I was in a river accident here on the Yakima River where I got pinned in a really dangerous pile of logs and almost drowned. And had that near-death ascension, if you will. Didn't see the tunnel and the bright light. Didn't see Jesus, even though I believe Jesus is an amazing person of our history and did probably one of the greatest psychic medium teachers of all time. But you would have to put him in, depending on what religion, Krishna, Buddha, Muhammad. There's a lot of people that have done based on the spiritual pathways. So, because I look at religion as a whole, I don't look at just religion based on, how I was raised here in the United States under Catholicism or Christianity or Hinduism or Judaism. There's a lot of different religions, but I look at the stories that make up that religion. And I didn't have the JC experience. I do believe in the Christ consciousness, but at the same time, I start to tune into our own abilities. Jesus talked a lot of scriptures that aren't in the Bible. He talked about the God within, the energy that makes your heart go. I call that the divine spark, the God connection. We don't know where the energy comes from that makes our heart go, but we know that energy always has to go back to source based on the laws of physics today. We know that to be true as universal law. So, these people throughout history opened up their spiritual abilities and discovered and shared and taught on that. Does that make them a deity? I don't know. It would be kind of similar when we realize that we're not alone, and there's a species that's more intelligent than us and more advanced than us that finally reveal themselves to us, because I'm not sure they're ready to reveal themselves to us as a species. I don't know if I would, but overnight what would happen is once we realize that we're not alone, it's just a matter of time. It's not if, but when at this point, because the government is now involved with reporting and budgets and committees, and they're looking at it from a national security standpoint. But overnight, literally, this advanced race would be known as a deity. Some people would call them evil and demonic, and based on religion. And then other people would say, oh no, they're like gods, like the Anunnaki that the Sumerian cultures talked about, if you go way back. So there's a lot going on in our roaring 20s, and there's more to come. Unfortunately, this is going to continue to escalate, not de-escalate. But what we can do is what I try to do with all of this is try to find the good in the day. I try to be a person that produces good outcomes and results, like doing this show, Metaphysical Mocha Mondays, or Inspired Living. You can also go to your Alexa, and I point because my Alexa's right here, and say, Alexa, open up Positive Living, and you can get daily tips for positive living and how to deal with some of this stuff, because I'm sure a lot of us are waking up tired, exhausted, our energy is just drained. And so this is a good time for prayer. This is a good time for meditation. This is a good time for the golden rule, the golden circle, to pay it forward, to smile at a stranger, to help an elderly person across the street. Our society has really kind of taken a turn, not for the better, but for the worse, unfortunately. And we have a lot of people that, want to move and speak to hate and to fear and to violence and to chaos. And I hope that's not the case moving forward. I hope that we'll be bigger than that, that we'll have that self-mastery that I talk about, that homeostasis, that sustainability, the great coming together. And, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. There's a lot that's going on, as I just showed, even from a scientific standpoint, based on frequency, based on hertz, based on what we hear and what we see is very limited. So what happens is you start to get away from these and you start to get away from this, and you start to go with this, you start to go with this, you start to go with your auric field, and knowing and feeling and becoming aware and using your intuition. Intuition is that knowing, but the logical mind goes, well, how do we measure that? Is that objective? Is that logical? Because sometimes your intuition can take you to some very illogical, not rational thinking. And you're like, okay, is that my imagination, or did that person really just try to contact me? And that's what I've understood in my journey of spiritualism in mediumship. So I just wanted to share that with you today. Just want to let people know that I do have my one main event coming up. It's going to be up this weekend. It's the Conscious and Wellness Expo in Kent. I'll be at the Kent Commons on Saturday and Sunday, booth 59. I'll also be a featured speaker on Sunday at the main meeting place there's 2 buildings. I'll be in the main building, and I'll be speaking at 1 p.m. and I'm going to be talking about after death communications, or ADCs, the signs, the symbols, the synergy, the synchronistic events. Einstein always talked about, he always explained as synchronicities as being God's way of remaining anonymous, whatever God is for you. I don't try to tell people who God is or what God is. I just know that there is something beyond this physical flesh suit that I have that's based on love and consciousness and energy and frequency and vibration. And so I'll be there this Saturday and Sunday for the BECU Conscious and Wellness Expo. It's the only one in-person event that I do. We're back. Everything is open and normal. COVID officially ended today, I believe, the last day of October here in Washington State. I won't be wearing a mask. I'm fully vaccinated and boosted. So if you want to stop by and have a reading, I'd love to see you, or just, stop in and say hi and give me a hug. I'd love to, give you just a heart to heart and share that auric energy. And then again, I'll be speaking at 1 p.m. on Sunday for After Death Communications, or ADCs. I'll post that on my website, the link under the events tab. I haven't done that. So I'll get that on my Facebook page and my site at marclainhart.com. Again, if you want to, how do I do this? If you want to just learn more about what I'm doing, get on in the fun stuff I'm doing on Insight Timer, become one of my Patreon prospectors, just go to here, marclainhart.com, and that will send you, get you where you need to go. So happy Halloween. Thanks for joining me today. You can see the sun starting to finally come up here in Seattle. We fall back next Sunday. I believe this will be the last time in 2023 we're getting rid of the spring ahead fall back, which I'm all for. Like, let's stop, because there's really no need for that. And maybe I'll turn my regular lights on. So thanks for hanging out with me. We'll get ready for the Halloween special after show with our special guest, Reg and Rosie. It's going to be the Reg and Rosie show. They're going to be coming in and doing some readings. So give me a few minutes just to get that all queued up and ready to go. So if you have questions, we're going to be doing mediumship, we're going to be doing psychic, and we're going to be doing healing. So I'm going to be putting you into a breakout room to do some healing with either Rosie or Reg, who are now certified and accredited healing mediums. So I'm looking forward to that. And they wanted to come on and be a part of the show. So I'm always happy to do that. And thank you to my team behind the scenes. Thank you for being here and volunteering your time. I hope you have a great Halloween. I hope you have a great rest of your week. And again, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not here. There's a lot going on spiritually, energetically, in our world, probably in your own journey. And it's just going to continue. This is our roaring 20s of transformation. So thanks for hanging out with me. I'll be off this week for Wednesday. So no podcast this week. We'll be back next Wednesday. And it's already November. Gosh, can you believe that? It's going to be November tomorrow. So stay safe, stay sane, stay in peace. Inner peace is your greatest superhero power, I always say, is inner peace, because we can't change what's going on or in the world. All we can do is change how we respond and how we not respond. So have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you here in just a few minutes for the Halloween special after show, where you can bring your questions or conversations, continue to chat over a cup of coffee. And until our next soul adventure together, be kind, be caring, be compassionate, and most importantly, wherever you're at in the world and whatever's going on in your journey, dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live. And I hope you discover that diamond within. We'll see you next time here on Metaphysical Mocha Mondays. Take care. Namaste.
Half 3 when I called you up, said I need you now cause I'm losing patience. By 4 you were knocking on my door. I said love is a two-way road, you don't care no more, am I going crazy? Needed you to self forget it all. And it was easy, you put the records on to replay. Then still we couldn't see straight till the morning came along. Don't need the weekend. We don't wait until the evening. We don't need to find a reason to turn it up and sing along. 'Cause that's what friends are for. That's
one planet, 7.3 billion people, only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Marc's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live. For more information on Marc's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marclainhart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.